Aloha, this is Tom Lesher with the weekly Pele Report. It's kind of an astrological pulse taking of planet Earth at this time of the equinox. It is September 20th of 2012 and it's Thursday today. On Saturday the sun moves into the sign of Libra. It is equal day and equal night everywhere across the planet. And so we want to be talking about this transition. It's a very big transition time. In the northern hemisphere, the nights are going to start getting longer. In the southern hemisphere, the days are going to start getting longer. There is this big shift. It reminds us that our lives in this planet are full of change and transformation. And we're going through it now. Today, Mercury is already in Libra, and it's coming into this, it is in opposition to the planet Uranus, and they are both in square to the planet Pluto, up there in the sign of Capricorn. And we know that Pluto and Uranus are in this exact square. It is the second one of 5 that are happening between now and the end of 2014. And I've talked about this Uranus-Pluto square extensively. Maybe we'll get a little more into it today. It's definitely on my mind right now. Because what is Pluto in Capricorn? It's the end of the old authorities, the end of the old structures, governments, banks, external authority figures, and a time of what? Uranus in Aries, the birth of a new, awakened individual perception. So here I am, I'm sitting here on this island of Oahu. I come out to a beautiful beach, and what happens? There's freaking Army and Navy planes, you know, flying overhead. I was having a beautiful, peaceful, relaxing day, and here is the old established order, the old patriarchal, power-hungry, greedy, self-oriented society and culture that the Western civilization has built up, and it's looming over my head while I'm trying to give a spiritual astrological report. C'est la vie, as they say in France. Yeah? Tripped out. It's just hard to concentrate on this stuff when when I'm getting buzzed. And this is just what is happening now, and it's going to continue to happen. Let's not forget that we are coming to the end of the Mayan calendar. December 21st of 2012, it's a big day. And if we look back, it's the close of a 5,125-year cycle. And that large, long cycle has to do with the magnetic setup of planet Earth. Our poles, yes? Our magnetic system. And let's not forget that the sun is also, we are now in a peak of the 11-year solar cycle. So the sun itself is on an 11-year cycle of increased solar activity, increased solar flares. We just had a big one actually a couple days ago. And when the sun blows, it changes its magnetic field, and those flares come out and they change the electromagnetic field of planet Earth. And the electromagnetic field of planet Earth has a direct correlation, connection to the electromagnetic field of our heart. And as I'm sure I've said before, science has now verified that the electromagnetic field of our heart is actually stronger than the electromagnetic field of our brain. So there's all these connections going on, and let's look at magnetism, because this is exactly what's happening. Increased magnetism. You know, when you get magnets that are stronger, they attract, and you turn them the other way and pew, they repel. This is what is happening with us. we are becoming more polarized. As the magnetic field intensifies, and our heart magnetic field intensifies, and our brain intensifies, it's getting intense around here, and it's polarizing. And that polarization brings tension, but it also brings clarity. It brings clarity, just like the full moon. You know, when you have a full moon, just think about it. It's not that dark outside. You've got the full moon. You got a little bit of light going on. It's not that dark. You can walk through the middle of the night. I got lost in the jungle last night. The Pele report is late because last night I went on this long hike out to this waterfall to give this spectacular report. And it got dark on me. And I came walking through the tropical jungle and got lost. I don't even want to go into it. Where was I? Let's look at it. The sun is going into Libra. It's about the scales. It's about balancing the scales. It's about coming out of the extremes. And our magnetic fields are intensifying. We are in the extremes from now till December and beyond. With this Pluto-Uranus square, this is time of tension, it's a time of extremes, it's a time of polarization, and that polarization is particularly having to do with the masculine and the feminine. And last week I talked about Venus in Leo square this Mars in Scorpio. This is the masculine and the feminine, and it's happening within each one of our hearts, within each one of our souls. This split, this polarization between, and it can even manifest as man-women, can be happening in a lot of relationships now. And we are polarized. And I'm actually talking on the radio with Kip this afternoon for an hour about this. I'm probably going to go into a lot more of the masculine-feminine dynamic. But we just want to really look at it. The feminine is the internal, personal feeling experience, and the masculine is the outer world, business, head experience, in very gross overgeneralizations. But it is this tearing up, this polarized. Do I go with how I feel, or do I go with what's expected, needed, demanded? Do I go with what the boss says, or do I go with what I feel? Do I honor and listen and to my inner world? Or am I still chasing, wanting to control, wanting to get a sense of security, money, financial, power, reputation from the outer world? This is what's coming up with this Mercury in Libra, Sun going into Libra, opposite the Uranus in Aries. Aries is I, me, mine, it's impulse, spontaneous, just go for it. Desire. I just want it, I'm just going to do it. And now here's Mercury, and now the Sun joining it. And this week the Sun is, going closer and closer to that same T-square. And that is bringing in other people. Libra is other people. It's partnerships and relationships. So we're going to have people talking to us, people, interrupting us, people demanding things of us, people checking us out, people testing us, people, evaluating our performance. And we're all... this is a time of becoming very self-aware through the analyzation, criticism, interaction with other people and partnerships. Business partnerships, love relationships, and the economy in general. This may also be a time this weekend where and into next week. Mercury is business, it's commerce. As it goes into this opposition with Uranus squaring Pluto, there can be a whole time period here of economic instability and some changes. They can be abrupt, they can be rapid, they can be unexpected. So it's not only happening within our personal relationships, it's happening with the economy and within the business area this week. So the idea here is, if we look at where Jupiter is over there, through all of the tension, through all of the extreme activities that are going on now, what we want to be doing is focusing upon Jupiter in Gemini. And that Jupiter in Gemini is the place, it's the opportunity to evolve and to expand in the most harmonious possible way. And that is to experience these times, particularly this week, this tension and this polarization and this awakening. See it as school. It's just a learning experience. It's going to pass. Be curious about it. Gemini is the trickster. It's the student. Use your left brain and just, understand that this is not so intense or so serious or so eternal or so permanent. That it is about change. And this change is very deep right now. And Gemini is an air sign, like the wind that blows over the surface and observes that change and allows that change, creates that change, has that change occur through actively letting go of our past patterns. As we actively let go of our past patterns, this is the Mars transiting through Scorpio. It's going to be there through the first week of October. The Venus in Leo wants to kind of stay on the stage and stay the center focus of everything. But Mars is moving us forward. And all I can say is, what's come to me in these past couple of days is, number one, that Mars in Scorpio has to do with a desire to penetrate, a desire for union, a desire to merge. And this merging can only happen through trust. And so with the polarization, where there's a lot of finger pointing or a lot of blaming or a lot of seeing the shadow element of yourself within other people, there can be a lot of distrust. So a lot of our trust issues are coming up this week, and they will be for the next 3 weeks or so. I'll talk more about that later. Venus actually is an exact square to Mars a week from today, next Thursday, so I'll talk about that next week. But the main thing that I wanted to get to and that I come to is, it is really about trusting yourself. You cannot trust anybody else. You cannot expect anyone else to trust you until you trust yourself. And here's the deeper key. You cannot trust yourself until you know yourself. And you know what is distinctly your core spiritual essence versus what your parents have told you, what your religion has told you, what your society has told you, what your spouse is telling you. So this is a time of kind of separating out. We had that new moon in Virgo last week. It's the harvest time. And now there's this harvest time of separating the wheat from the chaff. Separating your true essential self and your core from all of that which has been put upon you. And once you then know who you essentially are, then you can decide to change. You can decide to change not out of a pressure from a partner or a fear of losing the job or losing the partner. You're not changing because you have to change. That never works, and it's never successful. You only can change because you want to change. But you have to understand and know yourself in order to see and be able to let go of an old you, an old pattern. That is change. Letting go of something that is not essentially you. So that is what is going on this week. And for this week's mantra then, I want to just, make this focus of this week not about controlling, changing, manipulating, trying to work the outer world, but to change within, and that will be reflected. Everybody, everything will change as you change inside. So I brought a prop today for this week's mantra. In all of the intensity and in all of the weight, we need to keep a little lightness of being. And so this week's mantra is, as I learn to change from the inside out, I no longer need to scream and shout at everyone to get my way. I simply tip my hat and say, good day. This is Tom Lesher signing off for this week's Pele Report. Have a good time. Play with it. Don't take it all too seriously. Aloha, namaste, so much love.